There's a moment in your life when the world goes quiet, no noise, no crowd, just you, standing at the edge of everything you've ever known and one decision staring you in the face. That moment doesn't care how tired you are. It doesn't care how many times you failed. It only cares about what you're about to do next. Right there in that silence, your destiny waits, and it doesn't need years. It doesn't even need a full day. Sometimes all it takes is one decision, just one, to rewrite your story forever. You either step up and decide, or you stand still and let your life pass you by. People always think that greatness comes from talent, or from luck, or from the perfect set of circumstances lining up at the right time. But that's not the truth. Greatness comes from that moment when everything seems like it's falling apart, and you're standing in the middle of the storm with a decision to make. That's the moment that strips away every excuse, every comfort, every distraction, and forces you to face who you really are. It's the moment when the world feels like it's crashing down on you, when your back is against the wall, and you realize that no one is coming to save you. That's when everything changes. Not when you're winning, not when you're celebrating, but when you're tested. Because how you respond in that moment will echo through the rest of your life. See, it's easy to talk big when things are going your way. Anyone can smile when they're ahead. But when the lights go out, when your plans fall apart, when people leave and you feel like giving up, that's the real test. That's when you learn who you are. That's when the pain starts whispering in your ear that you're not good enough, that it's not worth it, that maybe they were right about you, and you've got two choices: believe the lie or rise anyway. Most people run from that moment. They numb it, they delay it, they blame someone else. But the ones who grow, the ones who go the distance, they face it head on. They don't let fear dictate their decision. They don't let their circumstances write their story. They step into that fire not because it's easy, but because they know that if they can survive this, they can survive anything. That test won't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed when you don't feel like it. Sometimes it's choosing not to quit when no one is watching. Sometimes it's putting in work when no one's clapping for you. It might not go viral. It might not get you applause, but those moments, that's where the foundation is laid. That's where strength is built. That's where identity is forged. Not in the highlight reels, but in the dark corners where no one sees you struggling, but you show up anyway. Because you're not just working for the outcome. You're working to become the kind of person who can handle the outcome. That's the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck. The ones who rise didn't have it easier. They weren't handed a free pass. They were just tested like everyone else, and they answered the test with action. They made a decision in the hardest moment to keep going. They didn't let failure define them. They didn't let fear silence them. They didn't wait for permission. They stepped forward when everything inside them screamed to run. And that's where real growth begins, not when you feel strong, but when you feel broken and still choose to move forward. Fear doesn't shout at you. It whispers, it tells you to wait, it tells you to think it over a little longer. It reminds you of what happened last time. It replays your worst moments like a broken record stuck on repeat. Fear wants you frozen. It doesn't have to push you backward. It just needs to keep you still. Because as long as you're not moving, you're not growing. As long as you're hesitating, you're not becoming. And that's exactly where most people live their lives. Not in failure, not in defeat, but in hesitation. They sit on the edge of change, looking at the water, talking about how cold it might be, but they never jump, they never decide, and so they stay stuck in the exact place they swore they'd never return to. The truth is, fear doesn't care how big your dream is. It only cares how long it can delay you, and it knows the longer you wait, the more excuses you'll create. Maybe next year, maybe after I save a little more money, maybe when I feel ready. But let me be honest with you, readiness is a myth. No one feels ready to change their life. No one feels fully prepared to walk away from comfort and step into chaos. You don't find freedom when you're comfortable. You find it when you make the decision to break the chains, even if your hands are shaking. And that's what decisions do. They unlock you. They cut through the fog. They pull you out of the waiting room and into the battlefield where real progress happens. There will never be a perfect moment. The stars will never align just right. You will never wake up one day magically fearless. What happens is you wake up one day tired of waiting, tired of wondering, tired of being stuck in a life that doesn't reflect your potential. And in that exhaustion, you decide, not because you're ready, but because you're done letting fear write your story. Fear is a liar, and decisions expose it. When you decide to take action, even a small step, fear starts to shrink, because now you're not just dreaming, you're doing, you're not thinking, you're moving, and movement is what creates power. That's the secret most people don't realize. Confidence doesn't come before the decision, it comes after. You don't wait to feel strong to act. You act, and then you become strong. Every powerful person you admire didn't start with certainty. They started with a choice. A trembling, uncomfortable Heiss takes choice to say yes to the unknown, and that single decision led to momentum, which led to progress, which led to breakthroughs. That's the cycle that creates freedom. Not sitting still, not talking about your goals, not reading about courage, but stepping into fear with a made-up mind and saying, I may be scared, but I'm going anyway, because indecision is a prison. But once you decide, you've already won half the battle. You've told fear that it doesn't get the final word. You've shown yourself that you don't need to feel ready to move. You just need to move. Excuses are comfortable. They wrap around you like a warm blanket, giving you a reason to stay still, to not try, to avoid the risk. They sound reasonable in your head. I don't have time right now. I'm too tired. I'll start when things settle down. But the truth is, excuses don't protect you. They rob you. Every time you make an excuse, you are not just putting something off. You are giving away a piece of your future. You're handing over time you can never get back. You're sacrificing progress for temporary comfort. And the worst part is, you don't even realize what you're losing until it's too late. Your dream doesn't die overnight. It dies slowly, excuse by excuse. It fades away every time you scroll for hours instead of working. It weakens every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, and then do the same thing the next day. You keep telling yourself you're going to change, but your actions are telling a different story. You want the outcome, but you're not willing to give up your excuses to get there. And that's the wall that stands between where you are and where you want to be. It's not your lack of resources. It's not that you don't know enough. It's not that you need more time. It's that you've gotten comfortable living with the excuses that justify your delay. People love to talk about how much potential they have, but potential without action means nothing. You can be the most talented person in the room, but if you don't move, if you don't act, if you don't commit, nothing happens. The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards execution, it rewards consistency, it rewards the person who shows up even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when they don't feel like it. Every excuse you make is you choosing comfort over commitment. You're telling your future self, I'll deal with the consequences later. And by the time later comes, it's too late to undo what you didn't do. The most successful people aren't excuse-proof. They just stop entertaining them. They feel the same fear, the same fatigue, the same self-doubt, but they push through it because they know what's at stake. They know the cost of waiting is far greater than the discomfort of action. And here's the part most people miss. The more excuses you make, the more powerless you feel. But the more actions you take, the more power you gain. Action builds belief, movement builds momentum, and even the smallest step forward creates a shift inside you that says, I'm not going to live like this anymore. You want your life to change, Then stop waiting for the perfect conditions and start creating them. Stop blaming your schedule, your past, your lack of support. Stop giving your power to things outside your control and take ownership of what you can control, your decisions. Because every day you wake up, you have two options: make an excuse or make progress. But you can't do both. One builds your future, the other buries it. You've been living with doubt for so long that it started feeling like truth. Somewhere along the line, someone planted a seed in your mind that said you're not good enough, you're not capable, or you'll never make it. And instead of ripping that seed out, you watered it. You replayed the failures. You memorized the moments you fell short. You let the past write the rules for your future. Doubt doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just whispers constantly. It becomes the background noise to everything you do. You start saying things like, "I'm not ready yet," or "What if I fail again?" And every time you hesitate, every time you play small, that doubt grows louder. But there's something doubt never expects, that you might finally decide to move anyway. All it takes is one real decision, just one, and everything shifts. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself enough to take the first step. Because the moment you act, you prove to yourself that doubt isn't the authority over your life. You become a living contradiction to everything you've been afraid of. You send a message, not just to the world, but to the part of you that thought you'd never rise again. That decision might not be loud. It might not be dramatic. It could be as simple as waking up earlier, sending that email, picking up the phone, saying yes when everything in you wants to say no. But in that tiny action, a fire starts. A spark ignites, and the doubt that has lived inside you for years starts to lose its grip. You've spent too long letting the past dictate what's possible. Just because you failed before doesn't mean you'll fail again. Just because they doubted you doesn't mean they were right. You're not who you were 5 years ago. You're not even who you were 5 minutes ago. You have a choice now, and that choice is your weapon. You get to decide what happens next, not your pain, not your history, not the people who gave up on you. You, one decision, no matter how small, can open a new door. And when that door opens, you'll realize you had the key the whole time. Doubt thrives in silence and stillness. It grows stronger when you wait, but it burns away when you act, because action forces you to confront what's real. And more often than not, what's real is that you're far more capable than you ever gave yourself credit for. You've already survived the things you thought would break you. You've already walked through storms others would have drowned in. That means the power isn't something you're missing. It's something you've forgotten. And that's what decisions do. They remind you. They pull you back into your strength. They wake up the part of you that still believes. And from that moment forward, your story changes. Not because your situation is easier, but because your mindset is different. Because you chose to stop negotiating with fear and instead light a fire that nothing can put out. People spend years trying to map out every detail of their future, trying to avoid mistakes, avoid risk, avoid regret. But life doesn't work that way. It never has. There will never be a version of success that doesn't involve risk. There will never be a life-changing journey that doesn't start with a decision that scares the life out of you. And here's the truth most people avoid. You don't need to have everything figured out to change your life. You just need to choose once. Because if you can make that one real, committed decision, you unlock a version of yourself you've never seen before. You wake up something powerful inside of you that doesn't care about fear or odds or what anyone else thinks. It just knows it's time to move. There's this idea that strong people never doubt themselves. That's false. Strong people just decide anyway. They don't wait for the fear to disappear. They move through it. That first decision might be the hardest. It might feel like you're jumping off a cliff with no parachute. But once you jump, once you see that the world didn't fall apart, once you prove to yourself that you're capable of surviving the unknown, that's when the game changes. That's when you realize, if I can choose once, I can choose again. If I can start this, I can finish it. If I can take this step, there's nothing stopping me from taking the next one. One decision builds momentum, and momentum builds belief, and belief, that's what changes everything. The world doesn't need perfect people. It needs people who are willing to choose progress over perfection. One choice might not fix everything, but it sets everything in motion. You don't get transformation from staying the same. You don't get freedom from standing still. You get it from choosing the path that scares you, the one that forces you to grow, the one that demands more from you than you've ever given. That's where greatness lies, on the other side of your first bold decision. Not your most comfortable one, not your easiest one, but your real one, the one that costs you something, the one that separates the old you from the version you're becoming. What most people miss is that winning isn't about a finish line. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't quit, the kind of person who doesn't flinch when things get hard, the kind of person who makes a decision and doesn't look back. That kind of mindset doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with one moment, one step, one choice to stop waiting, stop doubting, and start becoming. The first decision is the hardest because it demands faith. It asks you to believe in something that doesn't exist yet. But that belief isn't blind, it's built by movement. The more you move, the more real the dream becomes, and the more you commit, the more unstoppable you become. It all starts with choosing. And if you can do it once, if you can silence the noise, kill the excuses, and take that one step, you've already proven you have what it takes to win for the rest of your life. So here you are, at the edge of a decision that could change your life. You can keep waiting, or you can move. You can keep doubting, or you can decide. The truth is, you already have what it takes. You just need to believe it enough to act on it. One decision, that's all it takes to rewrite your future. Choose growth, choose courage, choose movement. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and drop a comment with the decision you're making today. Subscribe for more real talk. Your next breakthrough starts now.